I commentated with four-time Formula 1 World Champion Max Verstappen at Gamergy for the Heineken Player 00 World Finals. Here is the competition for the whole format. The drivers took part in a one-shot qualifying session which decided which semi-final they will be taking part in. There will be 5-lap races, and in Group A you will have all the odd drivers, including the fastest driver overall. Group B will feature all the even drivers, with the top 5 from each of the semi-finals making it into the final. The final will be a 25% race at the Dutch Grand Prix, so let's get into the action.
And they're leading away from the front. There are yellow flags, and Panama has retired already on the first lap of the race. That's not how you want things to go. Big send up the inside from the Bosnian driver, and through they go, still wheel to wheel with the Red Bull driver. Can they do anything wheel to wheel between those two, Slovenia and Bosnia? And it's Slovenia who's going to come out on top. The pressure from Chang behind from Malaysia is going to be filling those rear mirrors, and can they maybe potentially go for the move? Julian defending the inside. Chang, if he wants it, is going to have to go the long way. Decides against it, but a huge rear lock up there from Julian, a massive mistake. And it's not only allowed the Malaysian driver through, but also from Ireland, who is Mangan, who's also come through as well. So Julian, he's got a lot to do now to try and work his way back through the order and get into that top 5 spot. There's a little bit of a punt there, but a bit of damage coming from the Alpine, which is the Netherlands. Julian there, so his day going from bad to worse at the moment. A little bit of front wing damage for him. He's going to have to work with that, but goes for a huge move right around the outside. Can he pull it off? It was late on the brakes, it was bold, it was brave, but it couldn't quite get it done.
Very good, and they are fighting very hard for the last spot. Another contact against the Netherlands, but he's through into P6, chasing down Ireland for P5.
Looks like Ireland might have made a mistake somewhere.
Yeah, Ireland went off.
Down, so I think they just made a huge mistake. Netherlands is also off as well, so maybe contact between Ireland and the Netherlands there, and that, unless there's a mistake for any of the top drivers, is sadly going to certify them out of the competition and will not be progressing into the grand final. And he'll pull over to the side to celebrate. The Brazilian driver will come out on top in the first semi-final, and he is comfortably into the finals now.
Semi-final 1 done. It was Brazil who came out on top, with Slovenia, Bosnia, Malaysia and Croatia making their way into the finals. But who were going to join them? Let's get into semi-final 2.
The lights coming on, the engine's revving, and we go racing in Melbourne for the second semi-final. Oh, big spin up there from the Serbian driver, who's now at the back of the grid, and it is Japan who leads the way down through turn 1. Poland come through in P2, with Spain, the home hero, who's getting a bit of a round of applause here, of course, is in P3. Now goes for it up the inside. Can they get a car slow down? No! It's a huge lock-up from Spain. There was a round of applause for the send, but unfortunately it has not paid off for them. They dropped off. It looks like a big amount of front wing damage for the Romanian driver, who is comfortably in third, but now has dropped off to Australia. Now that's going to be a big issue for them in this race. Lap 1, damage to the front wing. They've got a lot to do in this race, as does this driver right here, Garcia, who's now dropped down to the 7th, but we know they have the pace after qualifying. Look out for the driver behind though, Garcia for Spain in P7. Watching this little battle, there is of course damage for the Romanian driver. Big lock up down in towards turn 3, and unfortunately it's going to take him massively out of it. Spain now, big round of applause as he moves up in towards 6th position, but now has to put the pressure on to Bulgaria to try and get in that top 5. Remember, only the top 5 drivers from this race will join the top 5 drivers from the last semi-final in the final that will be taking place at Zandvoort, and we'll be deciding the weather for that later on in the show, as we've got Poland right up behind Japan, but putting on way too much pressure. I saw a little bit of front wing that flew off of Poland. Have they just thrown away a huge opportunity trying to go for this win?
And we go side by side with Poland and Australia, so there is definitely some damage on the car, because Poland is dropping back very fast, but he still has a good margin to P5 to qualify. So that was another clean overtake. Can Singapore also make the overtake work here? He's looking for opportunity, going for the inside line, braking a bit later, and that's all a lock-up.
Good save.
He saved the car and he made it stick.
Yeah, good save there from Singapore. Moves up into P3. Poland looking safe as long as they don't pick up any more penalties. They're will to will, but we're going to cut to the leader, Yuki Okonogi. He started from the front of this race. He's going to be victorious. He's our second race winner for the Heineken Player 00 Global Finals in the semi-final, and he will progress on to the finals. And whilst they will not be making it into the finals, they're going to make a great race of it. Romania and Serbia round the final corner. Can the Serbian driver hold on and utilize the DRS to take the position? They've got a penalty anyway, so it wouldn't have mattered, but great racing to the line nonetheless.
It's going to be tough. Brazil is not going to drive away. He has some company, and it's going to be a nice battle for the podium, and you have to make it work to become the champion here.
Yeah, well, because Brazil and Japan, they were both very close when it came to qualifying, so in terms of one lap pace, they are very much on even par. And we saw in that race there, Poland was fighting with Japan. We also had Australia very close to Japan as well. So potentially going to see those four, as we bring in Slovenia into that as well, who matched Brazil's times in the first race, all batting it out, of course, for the overall win of the tournament.
We have our 10 finalists then. Brazil, Slovenia, Bosnia, Malaysia and Croatia will be joined by Japan, Australia, Singapore, Poland and Bulgaria. But now we need to decide the weather for the 25% race at Zandvoort. Up to Max Verstappen to spin the dice once again.
There you go. Vamos a ver el clima final que vamos a tener esta gran final de Player 00. Bien, bien.
Soleado. I was hoping for a little bit of rain, to be honest.
All right, and there we are. We had another dice roll by Max, and it's going to be sunny. That is not realistic because it's always raining in the Netherlands.
We were both a little bit disappointed, I think, as was Max. I think we were all kind of hoping just for a little bit of rain, a little bit of wet weather to mix things up a little bit.
No rain, sadly. It will be a dry 25% race at Zandvoort, but that's enough talking. Let's get into the final of the Heineken Player 00.
The lights are coming on, the engines are revving, and we go racing for the final of the Heineken Player 00, as it is will-to-will between Slovenia and Brazil. It is Brazil on the inside, down into the first corner, but can Slovenia hold it around the outside, setting up into another right-hander of turn 3. Slovenia around the outside, get the inside line now, and they move up into the lead of the race. But Brazil, it looks like front wing damage for them as Singapore is out of the race. In the background, Bosnia goes spinning, but they haven't crashed out. They managed to keep the car going. That is vital. It means that it's not all over. They can maybe get themselves back into the pits and something could happen. But you've got to say, disappointment for the first lap for Singapore to be out already as this battle's going on. It's not over yet. Japan moving up into P4. Poland already on the first lap has got a 10-second time penalty for ignoring yellow flags. As will to will, we've got Malaysia and Bulgaria. Bulgaria around the outside. Can they pull it off? Yes, they can.
Wow, what a chaotic lap one. They're still side by side here, Malaysia and Australia. A little bit of a lock-up, and maybe even Croatia can make the move on Malaysia happen as well. But for now, he stays back there. But Poland with a 10-second. Oh, Croatia didn't make it stick and has to pit now for a new front wing. Bosnia coming there, unsafe, getting back on the track. Everything, it's so chaotic. Like, there are things happening all by, like, non-stop. I think we would see Croatia and Bosnia in the pit. At least Croatia is in the pit lane now. Maybe already get on hard tires, try to get to the end of the race so you don't have to stop again. But wow, what an opening lap.
That is the possible race strategy for today. So one stopper, but you can either select to go for the mediums or the hards. Probably best to go for the mediums because it's going to give you the outright pace straight away. Is up the inside, goes Brazil with that damaged front wing into the first corner. And that is a fantastic move. But for Slovenia, they just need to play it patient. Keep the pressure on like they did in Australia in the semi-final. They know that they're going to have to take a longer pit stop, the Brazilian driver, unless, of course, they decide not to change that front wing and they believe that they still have the pace. But a great battle so far going on between Brazil and Slovenia.
Probably an overtake here on the straight, wing wide open, and that's a proper move down the inside. And now we're heading into turn 1.
That was close there for Poland to go into the back of Brazil. I'm not too sure if they sustained any damage there for Poland. That would not be good for them because, of course, with the penalty already and then having to change the front wing, it's a lot of time lost in the pit lane. Let's see if they've got away with that.
After a few laps of great racing, intense battles, and a little bit of chaos, it was time for four-time Formula One world champion Max Verstappen to join us in the commentary box.
Welcome in, of course, to the Gamergy for the Player 00 finals. Very chaotic first couple of laps, but it's great to have you here because you are such a passionate sim racer.
Yeah, it's very nice to be here and see all the guys being so competitive and fighting for the lead. It's also not an easy track to be racing on, so it's good to see.
Yeah, it's really good to see. And what do you like yourself most about sim racing?
I could just, it's my passion first of all, but at the same time also, it is very, very serious. Most of the things that you do are very alike, like in a real car, as it should be. And yeah, it's just a bit of also for me naturally like clearing my mind a bit about F1, and I just focus on other stuff and I have a good time at the same time.
We've got such a great atmosphere here at Gamergy as well. Do you enjoy these gaming events to have such a passionate crowd behind it?
Yeah, so I haven't been at many events, like live events, so it's always great to see that, and I think it makes it all a bit more difficult for everyone. At a live event, you don't have a lot of practice time, whereas when you sim from home, you can put 100 hours in if you want, right? So it's all a bit different, but it's always very exciting to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have to adjust so quickly with like a setup you're not used to, track conditions you cannot prepare for, and even the tracks. You rolled the dice and you made the choice for the track, so you have to adjust quickly.
I was hoping for a little bit of rain, to be honest.
Yeah,
that would have been even more difficult for them.
Yeah, I was saying like it's not realistic to have sun in the Netherlands because it's always raining.
Especially at this time of the year.
Especially at this time of the year, yeah, definitely. We're still seeing a nice battle here in front. The top three is fighting hard, but Poland still has that 10-second penalty.
Little moment.
Bobble. Yeah.
It's this track, when you can stay in the DRS, you have to make sure you use the battery, of course, at the right time. But it's at least good that they're all so close together fighting for the win.
Unforgiving as well, and a joy to drive. It's a roller coaster ride around here.
This track, as soon as you go a little bit wide, you hit the gravel. It's not great, of course, for your lap time.
Yeah, close passing between these three. Brazil's got a little bit of front wing damage. Poland's got a 10-second time penalty. Is it really just now up to Slovenia just to kind of calm it down a little bit, keep it chill, make sure they don't make any mistakes?
Yeah, I mean, of course, they cannot fight too much because then the guy in P4, of course, will catch up. If it would be me, of course, you just try to hang in there, save your tires a bit, make sure that the battery is full for the last 2 laps where you want to try and attack.
And it's not over yet for Japan as well. He's on a different strategy, but still he can keep up quite well with the top three, and with the penalty from Poland, anything can happen. He is trying to close the gap to the DRS so he can try to get even closer.
Yeah, they keep fighting, for sure you will get into the DRS, and then it will be a 4-way fight, even though of course one driver has a penalty. And I mean, if it would be me, I would still of course get into that fight. You have nothing to lose, right? So have a bit of fun out there.
Yeah, I mean, you can kind of put off your opponent, put them under the pressure. And of course, he's going to be on the soft tyres at the end of the race, so he's going to be, have the advantage.
Yeah, the two of them are boxing, so now it's going to be interesting.
It'll be interesting to see whether Brazil, when they make their pit stop, which they're doing now, if they're going to change the front wing or not, because the pace seemed pretty decent from them. But
yeah,
no,
I wouldn't change
not to. Yeah,
when you only lose that area, you don't want to change it. So you lose way too much time,
You lose a lot of time around here, though, with, of course, the front wing damage. So you've just got to say they've got some incredible pace out there to be able to handle the front wing damage, of course, with the aero that you're going to be losing, but still, of course, be fighting for the win.
Also, if I'm not mistaken, I think you can make some small changes in the car when you're driving.
Yes.
So that will, if you have a bit too much understeer, you try to correct for it. So, yeah, let's see.
Well, thank you very much for joining us on the desk. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we'll let you escape.
Okay, thank you very much. Enjoy.
This is always a painful moment of the race where you're sitting there waiting and you're watching your competitors drive off into the distance. They're going to have to do a lot to try and catch up over the rest of this race, of course. And Brazil behind Slovenia still, and Slovenia actually pulling out a decent gap now, 2 seconds between Brazil and Slovenia when they were so close before the pit stops. Where they're going to come out the pits, and it is behind Slovenia, but will they be able to be ahead of Brazil? And it is going to be close between the two of them, and they do. Japan out in front of Brazil, and remember, they now have that tyre advantage. Slovenia though, 2.3-second lead still over Japan, but this is the part of the race where Japan needs to utilize the fresher soft tyres. They need to push now because they're not going to have that advantage come the end of the race. Here's Japan, 1.5 seconds now the gap, so it is slowly just reeling Slovenia in at the moment, and this is going to be a tough moment now for Slovenia because you can see that delta, you can see that time in the top left-hand corner of their screens, just slowly, lap after lap, just getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And that's going to play a little bit on your psychology in this race because you're going to be therefore under even more pressure to not make a single mistake. You don't want to dip a wheel into the grass or even the gravel because it's going to cost you so much. The battle between Japan and Slovenia is going to come down to the final corner. It's 1.4 seconds. It's looking comfortable there for that man in the bottom right-hand corner of your screens, Jörg Dovzam. He comes around the final corner and he is going to be the champion of the Heineken Player 0-0 finals. A unbelievable drive there from Slovenia. Incredible, sensational. He battled wheel to wheel, toe to toe with Brazil, with Japan, with Poland. And he kept it nice and calm in those opening stages of the race. Didn't get drawn into all the chaos that we saw in the first few laps. And once they made those pit stops, he was able to then have that clean air and show exactly what he could do. And an incredible drive.
There we have it then. Slovenia is the champion of the Heineken Player 0-0 World Finals. Big thank you to Heineken and Gamergy for putting on this incredible show